Fire Emblem Engage probably is not the best Fire Emblem game for me to start out with because the only other one I've played is Three Houses, and honestly, this is a game packed to the brim with fan service, but at the same time, I really had a good time, so let's get into my no bias review of Fire Emblem Engage. First off, the gameplay, in my opinion, is a huge step up from Fire Emblem Three Houses. It focuses a lot on combat instead of the other side things that you could have done in Three Houses. In Engage, you essentially go from battle to cutscene back to battle. It's a really great gameplay loop, in my opinion, because it keeps you engaged the whole time and really makes you want to progress through the story. More specifically, the gameplay has returned to the traditional Fire Emblem system where axes beat lances, swords beat axes, and lances beat swords. If you use one of these types of matchups, you will usually do a little bit more damage on top of breaking them. This means that they cannot attack you after you attack them, making this a very vital step to think about, especially when you're trying to take down an absolute beefcake. This sort of rock, paper, scissors battle system made it very intuitive for someone like me who is relatively new to the tactical RPG genre. The combat takes the grid-based approach we've seen in so many Fire Emblem games, and you move your troops around and try to finish the goal before losing any of your own. This means that you do have to think very tactically and try to match up your troops with those that they have advantage over or that the rest of your team can swiftly take down. This felt very satisfying to pull off and kept me excited about battles and how I would conquer them. A lot of people are definitely going to tell you to play this game with permadeath, but if you're bad, like me, do not worry about this. This will be a lot of added stress, and to be fully honest, my favorite part of this game was the story, not the battles. The story was very interesting in my opinion, with a lot of twists and turns, some which were pretty predictable, but a lot that definitely I did not see coming, so I think you're probably not going to be able to see everything, and it's pretty interesting. The characters in every Fire Emblem game are something that people absolutely love, and when the game first came out, the discourse around the characters was pretty negative. People didn't like the designs, but I found myself really coming to like certain characters. I also thought that the voice acting here was awesome. Maybe it's just because for most of the voice acted Nintendo games I've played, the characters, when on the English voice setting obviously, were always British. Not to say that that's an issue, but the variety of different accents here was also really cool to me. The cutscenes that we briefly touched on earlier are done pretty well, and I think that overall this game does look pretty good. Albeit occasionally it does sort of feel like a mobile game, especially when the characters are talking out of a cutscene. It's kind of bizarre, but honestly, by the end of the game, stuff like this didn't really bother me at all, and I ended up finding it kind of funny. The graphics are sort of mobile adjacent, but the performance in my opinion is pretty smooth. Now, I say this in every video, but guys, I'm not a huge performance person. I don't tend to really notice it unless it's absolutely horrific. So since I didn't really notice any slowdowns or pop-ins, I thought this game ran very well. This is my second ever Fire Emblem game, and that might sound like this game really shouldn't work for me since I am so removed from all that nostalgia that so many claim is what drives this franchise. But because I knew a lot of these characters from Smash, it was pretty hype still when I saw our boy Roy and Marth and some other ones come on in. I did get pretty hyped. Honestly, if you're a huge fan of this franchise, you will probably love this game, and I'm shocked you're watching this and haven't gotten the game already. But if you are a new fan, don't let the fan service scare you away, because if you know these characters in the slightest, it can be a ton of fun. In Three Houses, there was definitely a lot more to do outside of the main objective. You didn't usually go from battle to battle, back to back, like I did in this game, but that also kind of made Three Houses full of fluff, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, it was still cool, and I did have a lot of fun with the dating sim aspect of that game, but I think by trimming the fluff, we were able to get a very polished product here, with much better combat and very effective storytelling. Because of all that, I'm going to give Fire Emblem Engage a solid 7.9 out of 10. I think this was a really great game, especially if you're a big Fire Emblem fan. The only issue I had, and I'm just going to drop it right here real fast, the difficulty. There's a big spike. I am trash at these games. I'm so bad, and I just had to keep rewinding and rewinding and rewinding, and it made me so upset. It happens in the last like 5 levels, I think. It was bad for me. So 7.9 out of 10. It's a very good game. If you're interested in it at all, you're probably going to love it, and I highly recommend that you try it out. Thank you so much for getting through this whole video. I want you to check out this video next about my Nintendo Switch collection. I made it before this game was in it, so now you know I also have this game. But do you know that I have Three Houses, and I give my like brief little thoughts on it in there? So check out that video as well.